any argument with the endeavour. I thought it was a decent performance today from Leicester. Obviously, it's just in the final third. I thought, again, we just struggled with the final ball. Jamie Vardy struggled again to get into the game. But overall, at the minute, they just need to try and find a way of completing, the final ball and getting Jamie into the game. It just didn't happen again today, but the overall performance for me was a lot better.
Walshy, what are your full-time thoughts?
Listen, they've given us everything they could. Literally a game of two halves, but Leicester again finishing the stronger in the end. Chelsea have done the job though. They've defended well in the latter stages where they needed to do. Like you say, I just think we're just lacking that little bit of quality and getting on the end of things, more people getting in the boxes. But we certainly threw the kitchen sink at them in the end, and I think that energy that we showed in the first half, just couldn't sustain it in the second half. Chelsea making the substitution certainly changed the momentum of the game. But you can be proud of themselves. They've done as everybody. You can see what the Chelsea players on the pitch at the end. They look shattered, and they knew they were in a game today, but they've grinded it out and got an away 1-0 win. Albeit we say that in this. In a stadium at the minute with no crowds, but no, I just feel that we're just missing that final quality. We've had enough balls into that box today, and we've not been clinical enough in that area. A few chances, Johnny Evans first half, maybe a header, another cross there which Soyuncu has missed, and probably should have done a little bit better, although he's very unlucky. And the difference is you put one of those in, and the game changes for you. And the longer it goes on, when you're not scoring, it gets nervous times at the back for defenders, and that's what's happened in the end. We've not defended that cross from Willian well enough, but it was not in the box that we defended it wrong. It was outside. It was a 2v1 situation where Chilwell needed Harvey Barnes to get across. He's just not done it, and unfortunately, Willian's crossed in there and Barkley scored. So they've played well in a lot of that game and deserved something out of the game. I thought for all what they've done, I thought they deserved something out of it.
Well, we want you guys at home to get involved with the show City on the Sofa here. Let us know your thoughts at full time, whether you're disappointed obviously with the result, or if you want to take some positives going into the remaining Premier League games. You can do so by interacting with us on social media or using the hashtags LCFC and then now and again. Ewan, would you echo obviously what Walshy has to say, that there's clearly a huge disappointment that Leicester are out of the FA Cup? They clearly took it very seriously. You look at the teams they played in all rounds of the competition. So how bitterly disappointed do you think Brendan Rodgers will be right now?
Oh, he will be. He will be. That dressing room will be a low place at the minute. But it'll be one that the players will have to lift themselves, because games coming thick and fast with this restart. They have to go again on Wednesday up at Goodison Park. But it's a disappointing result. It feels like a missed opportunity. But you have to say that first half, that was like Leicester City. So I think you have to take the positives, Dan. You have to look at that first half performance, and that's more like it. That's the standards that have been set in the first half of this season. I thought they were tremendous in that first half. Hence, Frank Lampard having to make the three changes at half time. Missed chances. We had a couple. Walshy mentioned the Johnny Evans. If that goes in, it could be a different story. The Soyuncu header, he's very unlucky. The Tielemans shot was well saved in the opening 15 minutes of that first half. Give credit to Chelsea. They came out in that second half with the changes and they controlled the game. They did to Leicester what Leicester did to them in that first half. Forced them to make mistakes, forced them to be sloppy with the ball. But then in the last 15 minutes, it was one-way traffic. And Leicester got hit on the counter-attack on the couple of times. That was always going to happen when you're chasing a game and you're throwing men forward. You are going to get hit on the counter-attack on occasions. But bitterly disappointed. 90 minutes from Wembley, it wasn't to be. It's two great cup runs for the club this season. Sadly, fallen short. But no, I feel better about what I've seen in that 90 minutes than I did when the game finished on Brighton on Tuesday.
Well, that's important, Jerry, isn't it? That positivity and taking that performance that they showed, particularly in that first half against Chelsea today, into the remaining games in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think so. I think, we can all sit here, we can pull the game apart, analyse it any which way you want, but when you actually boil it all down, the difference was one bit of quality from Chelsea, from Willian, to get that ball into the box. And I think that's where Leicester can improve and improve a lot, is when they get into the final third, it's all about that final ball. And that was the difference. One bit of quality from Chelsea, and they took the lead, whereas Leicester had ample opportunities in the final third and just couldn't put the icing on the cake. So apart from that, I thought it was the first half display especially was fantastic. Second half, you always, a team of Chelsea stature, they're always going to come into the game. They're a quality side. You're not going to keep them out for 90 minutes. It's as simple as that. And we've seen with the two league games, when both ended in draws, score draws, 2-2 apiece, that it was always going to be a tight game. It was a very evenly matched game. And in the end, it boiled down to one piece of quality.
Yeah, it was a terrific ball in Walshy, wasn't it, from Willian, and still a very good finish as well. Ross Barkley had a lot to do to put it past Schmeichel, who was clearly in terrific form today.
Yeah, I think, when they do their analysis session, they'll look at that and feel that it's a defensive mistake, really. It's a defensive error. And although Willian's put a great ball in, it wasn't hard where he needed to put that. At the end of the day, he's terrific. He's got class, and you give a player of that stature a chance and an opportunity to put a ball in like that. He's going to put it on a sixpence for him. So I knew what was happening as soon as that build up down that passage of play. And Chilwell, unfortunately, was 2v1, and you can't get in that situation. It's crucial, and then you've got to start looking at who was marking who in the box then, and fortunately we didn't do that quite right. So take that away from Chelsea. They had a couple of other decent opportunities. They'd certainly pressed high in that second half. They forced errors out of Leicester City, and at times we were trying to play too deep. And it was getting, you could see there was a little bit of tiredness creeping in, and then they seemed to get a second wind and get the feet and make changes ourselves. And when you analyse them two teams, that when I say Leicester deserves something out of the game, I really feel that they'll be gutted in that dressing room and feel like they should have. And they played well enough to at least draw that match. But we're out the FA Cup. We've got to win 4 or 5 games now in the league out of 7. I think to have a magnificent season still. Don't forget what we've done so far, and I'll keep it on a positive note, because we've nearly been in a final of the League Cup. We've got so far in the FA Cup. Brendan's done us proud so far, and it'd be a shame if things went wrong now. There'll be a lot of doubters in the fans. They're all worried now to death because Wolves are 3 points behind us. But listen, let's take one game at a time. We're capable of going to Everton winning. We've got Palace next. We've got Arsenal, who aren't in that great form. We've got Bournemouth. We've got Sheffield United. Then you've got 2 tough ones coming up. So it's not all doom and gloom. We've just got to just think a bit more about the quality in that final third, and we've certainly ripped teams apart in the start of this season, and at times we're looking to getting back in that mode again. I thought it was a terrific first half, the way they came out the blocks and they played. It certainly took the game to Chelsea. They had all kinds of problems, and Frank had a big headache. He knew, if we'd have taken an early chance, then it could have been a whole different ball game.
Yeah, before we look ahead to the remaining games in the Premier League season, Ewan, final word really on Chelsea, I guess, because we talked about Frank Lampard before the game and how much he was growing into his managerial role, and really at half-time to be bold enough to to realise whether maybe he'd got it wrong to start with, or to realise how badly his side were playing in that first half, to make 3 changes at the break for them to pay off as well as they did. You have to say fair play to him.
Oh, you do. You take your hat off to Frank Lampard, because they say as a new manager, head coach, whatever you want to call it, the hardest thing to do is to get the timing of your substitutions right. I think that comes with experience. You could see it wasn't happening in the first half. You could see they were being overrun in midfield with Billy Gilmore and Mason Mount, 2 young boys starting their careers. And you could see that he had to change things. Otherwise, there was only ever going to be one outcome. He wasn't afraid to do that. He did that. And you have to say that the changes that he made at half-time probably won him the game.
Well, yeah, it was certainly one of the substitutes, Ewan, that he did make at the break in Ross Barkley that came on and got the goal.
It's a terrific finish as well. The timing of his run, we could argue that someone should have gone with his run, but as Walshy said, if you give good players, world-class players, time and space on the ball, they'll pick people out. They'll put that ball in, and that's what William did. Fantastic ball in. It's a good finish. Could have been defended better, yes, and that's the one element of disappointment that Ben Chilwell was left isolated on that left-hand side. But take nothing away from Ross Barkley. His career hasn't really kicked off at Chelsea since his move from Everton. He's been in and out. He hasn't started as many games as he would have liked. But as a substitute, Dan, when you're given the opportunity, you have to have an impact on the pitch, and that's the last thing that the manager tells you before you go on. Listen, go on and make an impact. And there's no better impact than the one Ross Barkley did, and he's got his team into a semi-final at Wembley.
Yeah, he certainly had a big impact in that second half. Jerry, let's look ahead then. Leicester moving forward, as both you and Walshy have said, they need to take the positives from that, particularly the first half performance. And if they play like that against Everton on Wednesday at Goodison Park, you feel they can certainly get something from that game.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think, obviously that's what we have come to expect from Leicester, is that a high pressing game, winning the ball high up the pitch in midfield and putting teams on the back foot. And with going away and the lack of home crowd on Wednesday night, then the advantage is somewhat taken away from Everton. So yeah, it's important that Brendan stresses that to the players in the build up to the game, because in that first half, we've all watched each game since we've come back from lockdown. That first half performance was probably the best we've seen.
Does he then start with the same 11 he started, do you think, today then?
Well, that's the $64 million question, isn't it? No one has the answer. Only Brendan.
64 million.
Well,
the thing is, Jerry,
but no one has the answer to that.
No, they don't. And the thing is, the managers, they've got a lot of things to consider when you're playing games as they are. Wednesday comes around, fatigue and tight. When you've come bang into games now, who knows, how these lads are feeling. It's a really strange situation that they're in. So I think they're handling it very, very well. But it'll depend on training and who he sees is at it and right. And so that's where he'll make his decisions. So it's not just, you're the best player, you're the best player. It's not a case of that anymore. It's squad rotation. It's looking at the fixtures and thinking, right, here we go. But, like I've said before, Leicester could probably do it the hard way and end up needing points at the end of the last 2 games and getting them, knowing them. But
I'll tell you who will be playing on Wednesday night. And that's the keeper, Casper.
Oh, Casper. Oh, well done. I'll tell you what, I'll give you one as well. Then James Justin will play, and Johnny Evans.
Yeah.
So that's half of the $64 million question answered then. Well done, Jerry. It's becoming a bit of a tradition now, post-match on City on the Sofa. Let's get the thoughts of Rob Tanner on today's game.
So Leicester City's FA Cup dream is over for yet another year, and it's been another disappointing day for them since the restart of this season. They had so much to play for coming into these final 9 league games and the FA Cup. with the Champions League at stake and possible a trip to Wembley, but it's not to be. It was Ross Barkley, one of 3 half-time subs made by Chelsea, who's made the difference today. Disappointing from Leicester's perspective because they started quite well. First half, decent performances. Harvey Barnes had probably the best chance, blazed off the target, didn't even work the keeper, but at least it was encouraging, he was getting in good positions. But second half, they really were off the pace. The changes to Chelsea certainly helped them. It wasn't until late on that they had a few opportunities themselves to try and get back into the tie, but it's not to be. It's another stuttering performance from Brendan Rodgers' men.
Well, Rob Tanner there, Ewan was referencing the remaining games. If I just read out the final 7, so obviously Everton on Wednesdays, we know, then it's Crystal Palace and Arsenal. They're the next 3. I guess we'll talk about the ones after that. But from those 3, Ewan, there, so Everton, Palace, Arsenal, what does Brendan Rodgers need to be, not necessarily targeting points-wise, but what will he be targeting performance-wise, do you think, from those 3 games?
The same level as they reached in that first half. Don't agree with Rob's analysis. I think he's a glass half empty kind of man.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing how different
got that wrong.
games.
First half, Leicester were tremendous, and I'll reiterate that. I thought they were. Everton on Wednesday, I think it's going to be a tough game, Dan. I really do. Everton have had a good start to the restart. That good goalless draw against Liverpool in their opening match. Beat Norwich last Wednesday, and that's a big thing. They've had a week to recover from that Norwich game, and that will give them an advantage. It's never an easy place to go. Ancelotti's turned things down. He's got Everton playing well, playing attractive football. They have got a goal threat in Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. But as I say, if Leicester can reproduce that first 45 minutes with a bit more quality and a bit more killer instinct in that final third, they will win enough points to finish in that top 4.
Yeah, you'd expect Wolsey, if they can replicate, as Ewan says, that first 45 minutes, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, there's no doubt they can. Just got to be a bit ruthless in certain areas, and like I said, we've said about that final ball and that bit of quality, and there was little things that happened today, and you just, like the little Chilwell when he's gone to the byline, and he should have whipped it across anyway, and he's just stalled on it. These things, the bounce of the ball's just not quite gone our way, and but no, listen, if they play like that and they start like that and they've got that, get back into that rhythm that we know they can play and they're capable of, then they'll be fine. That movement was, we said before the game, in the last 2 games wasn't as good, but today it was. They had the movement, they certainly had the appetite to close people down, and like I said, they consumed a lot of energy in that first half, and it's hard to sustain and keep doing it. And you might say, oh, that's a bad pass or whatever, but sometimes tiredness can pay a big price, and I think that Leicester put a lot of energy in all of the games. They do. That's the way they play, and they have to. And they're certainly wearing teams down a lot and having the majority of the play in every game. But like I say, it's just not falling for them nicely at the minute. We're desperate for a win. Everyone knows that. The team know that. The manager know that. And if they keep doing the right things and working as hard as they are, it'll come to them.
Yeah, there were tired legs, Jerry, towards the end of that game. Again, that's to be expected, but we are now starting to see those fitness levels getting back to pretty much where they were before lockdown.
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, it was as Walshy said, when you play at that tempo, it does take it out of you. But that's why you have squad rotation. That's why these players are on, a different planet as far as their fitness levels are concerned. But tiredness does play its part the deeper the game goes. And normally we've seen Leicester take advantage of that in other games. When breaking the deadlock or going ahead in games, late on. We've seen that many, many times this season where their fitness levels have just come to the fore. Today, yes, 1 or 2 of them were just feeling it a little bit, shall we say, towards the end. But it's important, confidence plays a big role as well. I think sometimes some of the players probably overthinking it instead of just doing things instinctively. So that's maybe something Brendan will have a word to the players about. Don't try and overthink the game too much. Just do what comes naturally, So you know, there's a lot of talking to be done. I don't think there's too much work to be done on the training pitch, to be honest with you, because, as I said, they got themselves into some good positions in the pitch, created some good goal scoring opportunities. It's just that the icing on the cake that was missing today.
I guess Walshy as well. I mean, they've not really had the rub of the green in all three of their games since they've gone back. We saw that Soyuncu header today that's just hit the back of Azpilicueta's head. He had no idea where the ball was. There was the handball right at the end of the Brighton game. On another day, really, that should have been a penalty for Leicester at the end. Watford, obviously, there was a bit of a scramble. They scored in the last minute there to equalise.
Yeah,
but I know that you can't blame that.
No,
though.
we can't. We
understand
can't, and we can't, and we don't. But you do feel a slight bit of animosity about it. But you know, you've just got to get on with things. The one thing you've got to look at now is that it's still in our hands, which is a good thing. A win is what we need to boost the whole club, and there's no doubt about that. It's just a win at Everton and would change the whole momentum of our season, I think, and really give them that confidence that they need. I don't think we're lacking confidence. I just think that we're not having the rub of the green. Things aren't going our way, and this happens in seasons. But you've got to make it happen now, and you know, it's now or never. We've got 7 games now to end the season on a massive high and clinch, you know, a Champions League place. And what it would mean for this football club, everyone knows. You know, I'd love this to happen, especially for what the chairman and everybody does for the football club. I just think it'd be an amazing season, and you'd look back at games like this and you'll forget about it. It'll be gone. The Aston Villa in the League Cup as well, be gone. They've had a terrific season so far, and like I said, there's a lot of fans there who'll be worried and saying negative. You know, I can imagine now the social media is all negative, but inside that dressing room, they've got to stay positive, and they go to Everton away on Wednesday, and it's a vital game, and they're capable if they get it right, and I'm sure that a bit of luck we will do.
It is obviously a young dressing room, Ewan, but it seems to be a very positive and a very confident dressing room, in the sense that they probably don't let negative results like this, they won't dwell on them for too long. They'll have the ability and the confidence in their own ability to go to Everton and win on Wednesday.
I don't think you can dwell on bad results. Yeah, you'll feel disappointed, of course you will, but you can't, as a professional footballer, you can't let it eat away at you. You've got to get your head up, because games come thick and fast. You know, it's so important that as a club, not just as a group of players, but as a club, they stick together. It has been a great season. You know, it is going to be a tough end. But had you said at the start of the season, and at the start of the season, I think the target was top 4. You know, yeah, with a bit of luck, it would be great to get to a cup final and give the fans a great day out at Wembley. Came ever so close to doing that, but the target was to break into that top 4. Dan, that's not an easy thing to do. That is not an easy thing to do. You know, you've got some big clubs with big squads, all fighting for that Champions League place, and that's what Brendan's got Leicester there with 7 games to go. And I think, had you given that scenario to any Leicester fan at the start of the season, right, with 7 games to go, we'll be 3 points clear of Wolves with a game in hand, 6 points clear of Manchester United. I think any Leicester City fan would have taken that. You know, it's been a great season. Just go and finish it off now. Just go and finish it off and qualify for the Champions League.
Absolutely. I think that they'll be the thoughts that are echoed, certainly by all of us in the studio, and hopefully by most of those Leicester fans out there, Jerry, that thought that, yeah, you're still 3 points ahead of 5th place, but you have a game in hand, and how vital now that game in hand is, presumably Wednesday being said game in hand against Everton.
Yeah, well, they're all vital, aren't they? Because, you know, say there's clubs hot on the heels just below Leicester at the minute. So every game is vital, and none more vital than Wednesday night. And that's where all the focus and the attention has to be. You know, as Walshy said, one game can lift the whole place. It can change the rest of the season, the rest of the run into the end of the season. So all the energies, all the focus go on Wednesday night. It's and I'm not saying it's a must-win game, but if we could win this game on Wednesday night, then that is a lot of pressure off everyone involved, because obviously, we haven't won a game since we come back from lockdown. And the longer you go on without winning a game of football, then the more the pressure starts mounting. That's the way it works in football. It's as simple as that.
It's high pressure now, Jerry.
Yeah, oh yeah,
and,
big time.
I'd rather be in the bottom, like a Norwich or a Villa or Bournemouth sometimes. You get to a stage when you're there that it is desperate, and it's just, the pressure is ridiculous, but I guess that it's a similar type of pressure, but in a different way, if you know what I mean, with what's at stake. But when you think that Norwich, Villa, Bournemouth, West Ham, and Watford are fighting for relegation now, we are fighting for a Champions League place. So there's a different type of pressure that comes with that, and it's still a difficult situation for especially younger kids in the teams who. But sometimes these younger lads don't have that fear, do they? I mean, I always had that kind of fear about things, and I'd never sleep on a Friday night, and yet I could still perform on a Saturday, but the pressure's high for us now, and it'll be interesting how we deal with it.
Yeah, there was a Premier League game that took place during that FA Cup game that Leicester were playing. Walshy, one of the teams that he just mentioned there, Watford, were in action. They lost at home to Southampton. Southampton, who have a brilliant away record in the Premier League, winning 3-1 there at Vicarage Road. There's one other FA Cup game this evening. Newcastle host Manchester City in this competition. But now, Jerry, obviously, as we've talked about, all the focus for Leicester is on those remaining 7 Premier League games now, starting on Wednesday. The message clearly will be from Brendan Rodgers, start as quick as we started today.
Yeah,
in that game.
You take as many positives out of each game as you can to bring into the next game. And without, as I said before, it's obvious that we haven't won a game, but there was a lot of positive to take out of that first half, and that is what we have to bring in. Try and just smooth around the edges to get those finishing touches, because we did put Chelsea under a lot of pressure. A good Chelsea team who has a good young manager in charge, and we tested them. It's just that the cutting edge right at the end of each and every move. We just let ourselves down there, but we took the game to Chelsea. We matched them, outplayed them, outmuscled them. We just couldn't finish the job off. So there are the positives you take into Wednesday night.
Yeah, Ewan Roberts, last season for Leicester, it was a New Year's Day game at Goodison Park. They won 1-0. Jamie Vardy was on the score sheet. I think Vardy and Leicester and all the fans would snap your hand off right now for the exact same result with the same goal scorer. It would be 100 Premier League goals for Vardy. A win, obviously, for Leicester, and even if it is a scrappy 1-0 win, that they take that at this stage.
Oh, you take that all day long. You take that all day long, a scrappy 1-0 win. The most important thing is, getting those first 3 points since this restart. However, which way it comes, it doesn't matter. Whether it's the scrappiest of goals, just grind the result out and get back to winning ways, and it'll just lift the whole club for the remaining six games. Because Dan, Leicester have got winnable games. Palace at home. Palace have got nothing to play for. Arsenal, I know they've beaten Sheffield United in the cup today, but they're having a bad time. They've had a bad time since the restart. Bournemouth fighting for their lives. Sheffield have had a similar restart to Leicester, probably worse with the games that they've lost. So it is all to play for. They're more than capable of winning at least 4 of those remaining 7 games. More than capable.
Walshy, I know you're usually a very positive person when you're supporting Leicester. You weren't with about 5 minutes to go in that game.
I wasn't.
This afternoon.
I just had that feeling of Brighton, when we were, you were urging them to score a goal and you just didn't feel it was going to come. And it was similar. I suppose I'm getting older now. I am getting a bit more negative. But, it's just, looking back at the goal, Chilwell's just got no chance. He's a little 1-2 and just a whipped-in ball from Willian, and there's the goal. Disappointing, but, like you say, we're out of the cup now. We've got to look at the next game, and it's Everton. And like I say, you lads have just said it, we're very capable, and it'd just be nice to get a win, to give a bit of confidence to everybody.
Yeah, we talk a lot about perspective, Jerry, particularly after negative results. But if you could just, again, try and put things into perspective for those Leicester fans. I think at the beginning of the season, if they were offered, what is it, third, fourth place, 3 points clear with a game in hand with 7 to go, they'd have absolutely taken that, and that's what you've got to look at this stage.
Yeah, I think all the bigger clubs that are further down the league were taken by surprise somewhat, or a bit, by the start that Leicester had, and slowly but surely they're playing catch up, and so they're putting Leicester under pressure. It's up to Leicester as a football club. They have to deal with that pressure. If you're going to be successful, you have to deal with that pressure. And at the minute, I'm not saying we're going off the rails by any stretch of the imagination, but you do have to keep things in perspective. We're still in a great position to finish in the top 4. Yes, we do need a win. There's no hiding behind that. But we have to get behind the team. We have to get behind the club. And if we do that, then we'll give the lads the best chance of pulling that one result that maybe kick-starts the rest of the season on. So, and performance today is a good starting point.
Yeah, final thoughts from you, and still an awful lot to play for this season.
Oh, Dan, Spurs would snap your hand off to be in Leicester's position. Arsenal would. Manchester United would. They're in a fantastic position. They've given themselves a great opportunity. Obviously, everything that's happened hasn't helped the break in the season. The last game before the lockdown, they had that magnificent 4-0 win against Aston Villa at the King Power. Started to turn the corner, but it will come. They've just got to keep believing, stick together, show the spirit that we know they've got in that dressing room, and they'll be fine.
Come on, Walshy, let's have a positive Steve Walsh rallying cry to end things.
Well, just 3 points at Everton will do me, and that'll make me very positive, Daniel. But listen, I'm always upbeat. I do. I'm kind of. We all love this club, and we want them to do well. But I'm also realising there's progression in what we're doing. Look at the season as a whole. It started. Harry Maguire was, he left us, and so that we've not spent a lot of money either this season. Obviously, the training ground's costing a hell of a lot of money. So I'd like Brendan to have his chance to, buy a few players, a few more, and to add to this squad. But overall, they've been brilliant. Whatever happens this season, and I'm not being negative at all by saying that. Let's just go out and just take this next game and concentrate on that and get a win. I think the whole confidence will come back into everybody, the fans and everybody at the club.
Well, thanks, Walshy. Thanks, Jerry Taggart, and thanks, Ewan Roberts, for this afternoon. Unfortunately, it did end in defeat. Leicester City are out of the FA Cup at the hands of Chelsea at the quarter-finals yet again. Still a lot to play for, though. We'll be back for City on the sofa, of course, for the Everton game on Wednesday. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff, so we'll be on air from 5. So please do join us then. Thank you.